I used to love my sport. One athlete's story of burnout. Abstract. Student athletes are some of the most resilient individuals. They are expected to be a great student in the classroom by maintaining a certain GPA while also going to multiple practices throughout the day. Imagine working two jobs that are both equally important that require attention, time, and consistency while trying to maintain order and balance in your outside life. That can be fairly difficult for anyone, no matter how resilient they may seem. The body of a student athlete is expected to go above and beyond, but what happens when things become a bit too stressful? The signs are ignored, but they are easy to see. Feeling tired all the time, aching and soreness, and possibly breaking out can be symptoms of extreme fatigue or exhaustion. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse, personality disorders, PTSD, and eating disorder are all mental illnesses many student athletes struggle with because of the stress they feel from competing and trying to obtain their college degree. This study was carried out to examine mental health and its connection to athlete burnout. Furthermore, it will also study the relationship between coaching climate and the effects of student athletes. In order to gain a better understanding of why burnout occurs, the study will use an autoethnographic research method to tell one female athlete's story of mental health and her battle of fighting burnout. By using examples from her own life and viewing the trends between coaching, team camaraderie, and mental health, the study will answer the question of why many athletes experience burnout. Picture this. The alarm clock sitting on the dresser reads 5:30. A bright and early Tuesday morning had reared its face for a long day for one student athlete trying to make her way through college. She thought about staying in bed for 5 more minutes, but that meant taking the risk of being late or missing practice altogether. As she rolled out of bed, the creaks from the springs of a tiny twin-sized mattress are heard. The sounds of a struggling body that was not ready to embrace the day also groaned from stress and lack of sleep. 5:40. 10 minutes had passed since she rose from her slumber. Without any time to eat, she grabbed her keys and headed out the door. Her face and body were greeted with a crisp wind when she stepped out. It made leaves fall from the trees and outdoor sport athletes envious of the conditions they had to face. It was another chilly day in Illinois. Not quite cold enough for a heavy jacket, but not warm enough to wear shorts. It was barely 6 o'clock in the morning, but it was time for the first practice of the day. Many athletes in college know this scene all too well. The early mornings are dreadful for all and prevent student athletes from successfully getting the full 7 to 9 hours of sleep that are necessary to function throughout the day. Defining burnout. Burnout is defined as a response to chronic stress, of continued demands in a sport or activity without the opportunity for physical and mental rest and recovery. For many student athletes, the demands of being a college athlete requires the strength to have multiple practices a day while also going to class in between them. It can be challenging trying to live such a demanding lifestyle, but for many of these athletes to keep their scholarships, they must be able to handle the responsibility of taking care of their schoolwork while also attending all their practices. Burnout occurs when an athlete feels like they cannot physically or emotionally meet the demands that are required of them, or when they feel trapped by the circumstances of sports participation. The symptoms are usually ignored. However, it is important to pay attention to the body when it is telling you that something is wrong. For example, athletes who experience burnout show more emotional issues such as moodiness and irritability. They may also present signs of low self-esteem and increased anxiety and depression. Coaching climate. Coaching climate is defined as the psychosocial environment that the coach creates between themselves and the team. These conditions can range from controlling to autonomy supportive or a mix of both. Autonomy supported. An autonomy supportive coaching style presents itself as the interpersonal sentiment and behavior the coach provides during instruction. Furthermore, it allows for the development and strengthening of the team to grow as athletes and build motivation for their sport. Self-determination theory. This supportive style of coaching is shown to be effective when supporting the psychological needs of the athlete. The self-determination theory suggests that people are able to become self-determined when their needs for competence, connection, and autonomy are filled. As one of the biggest supports an athlete has besides one's teammates and family, the coach plays an important role in promoting an athlete's well-being. If the coaching climate does not prove to be a safe environment for the student athlete, it can expose them to symptoms of burnout. Controlling coaching. Symptoms of burnout can be exposed in a controlling coaching climate, one being the loss of interest in a sport that was previously enjoyed. A controlling coaching style refers to an environment where the coach is perceived as coercive and authoritarian, and they do not consider athletes' opinions in terms of sports-related decision-making. Authoritarian is characterized by rigid rules and expectations for behaviors that athletes are asked to obey without question. This technique of coaching does not provide the necessities of autonomy, confidence, or relatedness that the self-determination theory has deemed essential for optimal human functioning. Both climates, autonomy supportive and controlling, influence athlete motivation. A supportive environment is necessary to promote initiative and determination in student athletes, while a disempowering climate is ego-involving and is more likely to promote burnout. Mental health. Mental health is a topic that is not addressed enough in the world of sports. Many coaches believe that emotions and feelings should be left at the door when an athlete steps onto the court, field, or track. Student athletes typically struggle with mental illnesses due to unique stressors they go through when they enter college. The fear of being benched, not being able to maintain eligibility, and balancing social and leisure activities can be troubling. These factors are relevant to the understanding of why stress is prevalent in student athletes who begin to suffer from mental health conditions as it increasingly exacerbates the issue. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse, personality disorders, PTSD, and eating disorder are all mental illnesses many student athletes struggle with because of the stress they feel from competing and trying to obtain their college degree. In an article by Paul Nackstedt, he states, student athletes frequently respond to painful experiences and emotions by practicing the same coping skills that help them reach a high level of success in sport, ignoring the pain and focusing on being tough. Unfortunately, for a lot of athletes, it is common for them to struggle behind closed doors. As a result, coaches need to recognize the signs and symptoms of mental health issues before burnout occurs. Counselor to student ratio. Many student athletes struggle with depression and may not know where to go for help. Most feel like they cannot go to their coaches, so they seek help elsewhere. At McKendree University, our small Division II college, the counselor-student ratio is 2 to 2,499 students. For the number of athletes that this school accommodates, they do not provide enough support when it comes to school counselors or athletic trainers. According to the American School Counselors Association, who draws on data from U.S. Department of Education, it is recommended that the counselor-to-student ratio should not exceed 1 to 250 students. McKendree surpasses this recommendation as its student population would need a total of 10 counselors to support the athletes and non-athletes on campus. Although the counselors at this school do an exceptional job, the amount of support they can provide to the student body is minimal. In addition, this type of environment aggravates symptoms of mental health and forces isolation. To gain a better understanding of how burnout can affect an individual and their mental health, this study will take a closer look into my own life as a female athlete on the women's track and field team at McKendree. Using a qualitative research method called autoethnography, the study will use a self-reflection to explore the personal experiences of my life and how I have struggled with mental health and burnout. Currently, in my junior year of school, I am majoring in psychology with a minor in clinical and counseling. Not only do I run track, but I am also a member of SAC, the Student Athletic Advisory Committee, and a sister of Kappa Lambda Iota. Although running track and going to school are both full-time jobs, I like to believe that I have managed to maintain my social life while meeting the expectations of my coaches and teachers. However, like some student athletes, I have struggled to maintain my mental health while juggling all of my responsibilities. With over a decade of experience running track, I've had the opportunity to experience both the autonomy supportive and controlling coaching styles. Unlike the encouraging coaching I received in high school, the coaching at McKendree was drastically different when I was a freshman. I had never been on a team where the coach did not value the opinion of his athletes when it came to decision making and what was best for themselves and their bodies. During my freshman year, the coach stated to me and the other newcomers on the team, freshmen are not allowed to talk or have an opinion. Sophomores may whisper, but I will not listen. Juniors can talk and I will consider it, and seniors can talk and provide input. That is when I will listen. In one statement, my coach, the leader of the team I had planned on being on for 4 years, had stripped me of my voice before the season had begun. I laughed it off as a joke. But it soon became clear that I had trapped myself in a controlling and extremely disempowering environment. Although he was only my coach for 2 years, there are countless stories of him mentally and emotionally abusing his female athletes. When I first considered coming to McKendree to run track, my high school coach had vouched for the head coach of the school at the time and told me he would help me get further in my career. Taking his advice, I set up a home meeting, and the person I met that night when the coach walked through my front door was not the same person I met on the first day of practice. The first week of being a collegiate athlete, my coach gave up on the team. After practice, he called the women's team in to talk about the performance last year. They had had a bad season, and he was not going to stand for another one. As a freshman at the time, me and the other newcomers were confused as to why we were involved in a meeting that did not have anything to do with us. By the end of our first practice as collegiate athletes, our coach had decided that we did not need him and he would no longer be coaching our practices. From day one, he had dropped his recruiting persona and showed us who he really was, a short man with a large ego who felt the need to manipulate athletes in order to feel powerful. By the end of my sophomore year, I had lost all respect for my coach. Not only did I not have a voice, I lost my confidence being on his team, and my mental health was very poor. My depression and anxiety during my sophomore year were so severe that I was willing to give up everything that I had spent a decade to achieve because of a coach who only cared about himself. This study aimed to examine the effects of burnout on college athletes and to acquire a better understanding of why some athletes go through this experience. The results of the present study revealed that a mix of coaching climate, stress, and poor mental health ultimately led up to the main reason why I eventually experienced athletic burnout. To preserve some privacy, the names of the coaches were not revealed. For a college athlete, dealing with stress can be difficult. Not only was I dealing with the stress of schoolwork, but I also had to deal with the poor psychosocial environment created by a disempowering coaching climate. According to a study on empowering disempowering coaching, student athletes in disempowering coaching climates would experience more symptoms of burnouts in sports compared to student athletes in empowering coaching climates. By the start of the second semester of my sophomore year, I was already showing signs of burnout, lack of motivation, loss of pride, and a loss of hope in not only my abilities, but in myself as well. This affected my mental health as I experienced an increase in symptoms of depression, and at one point, I had lost a total of 14 pounds. Coaches are expected to provide security, safety, and emotional support. Athletes who are able to form close attachments to their coaches are more likely to feel secure in exploring their role in sport, pushing their boundaries, and taking risks to improve performance and being able to confidently give 100%. Coaches have a big impact on how their athletes grow as an individual and a competitor. Their job is to motivate their players by providing solid instruction and training while offering positive support and feedback. Although things started looking up for our team when we got a new coach, I have continued to have negative feelings toward my performance and a lack of confidence. From only 2 years of running track at McKendree, I already felt emotionally drained and ready to be done. But I still have the hard decision to make of whether I will return to the team in my upcoming school year. Mental health is an important aspect of being a great athlete. Quitting your sport can be a challenging decision, but it is important to make the best choice for yourself, not only as an athlete, but as a person as well. Now picture this. The distant sound of an alarm clock is heard from the room above, and the creaks of a tiny twin-sized mattress groan from the weight of a body not quite ready to get out of bed. The sun had barely broken the horizon as the birds start chirping their morning song. As the pipes rattle from the sink turned on above, you slowly open your eyes to see the time, 5:40 a.m. Your heart suddenly begins to pound as the fear of being late to practice quickly sets in. Jumping up from bed, you rush around the room looking for the right shoes to put on. As time begins to tick away, a sudden realization sets in. It's Saturday morning. You are no longer a student athlete, and the PTSD of morning practice will eventually fade. The decision to stop being a student athlete can be challenging. It can lead to losing the friends you have made over the years and a decrease in scholarship money. However, the benefits include no longer waking up for a 6 a.m. hill workout on a chilly Monday morning, having more free time to not only focus on schoolwork, but to focus on your mental health as well, and to live a normal college lifestyle. Dealing with the effects of burnout can be difficult for any athlete. Coaches, teammates, and stress can also can all have a factor in mental health, which is why it is important to notice behavioral changes in yourself and others. To make your life simpler and more effective, it is important that you recognize it is okay to quit.